Welcome to this Action Learning Set demo for the Leadership in Personalised Care programme. Usually, in our Action Learning Set, there will be time for two people to bring a challenge or difficulty they are experiencing at work to the Action Learning Set. Once everyone has gathered in the Zoom, the facilitator will encourage the set members to share how they are feeling and what they might need us to be aware of that day.
Let's find out how everybody is. How are we all feeling?
Today, I'm feeling content, but I feel just a little bit emotionally fragile.
Reassuring people that the Action Learning Set can hold and support them in an inclusive and responsive way.
Well, I'm really pleased Julie said that today. So I'm feeling really excited to be involved in the group and be connected with people, because I wouldn't say I feel fragile, but emotional, definitely.
I'm good, actually. I started the morning off with that sort of feeling of a little bit overwhelmed, just with everything that's going on workload. But by the time I've got to now, I'm in a good place.
So just to refresh ourselves in terms of the ground rules, and that will create an environment that we can deeply listen to each other and question each other with real thought in that questioning.
Establishing ground rules at the first set meeting or refreshing the ground rules as part of the check-in is a really important part of an Action Learning Set.
What do we need to rethink? I think from last time it was obviously that sense of one at a time and putting your hand up if you can, or let me know in other ways if you need to speak or come in. There will be a break. It's really essential that we have a break. And if anyone feels at any one time they need to turn off their screen, please do feel free to do that. This space is for you. So we're all learning together, whether you're an issue bringer or not.
Can I just say something, Sarah? I think I really appreciate the honesty that Julie and Andy expressed about how they're feeling. I just want to appreciate that honesty, and I really think it can add value to the group.
So from my point of view, it's just important everyone understands that my situation is, as we know from the last session, paralysed from the neck down, so I can't put my hand up.
Yeah.
So if I put a thumbs up, which is a reaction I can do, I'll give you an example now.
Yeah.
That just means that I'd like to ask an insightful question or something, and have something to say rather than interrupt.
Being online can be exhausting, so this is where we remind each other how we need to work together in taking turns, taking breaks, and the importance of looking after ourselves and each other in the space. Next, we must establish who will be sharing their issue in the time we have together. Some people will have prepared their issue.
I have thought of something, and I think I feel quite strongly about it. It's quite a prominent issue during these times. I would say that some other people may also feel strongly. So I would really like to draw upon the experience of others and how they feel and what could be done to rectify that issue.
That's brilliant. And just to sort of confirm that we will be here to ask you questions, and the process understands that you have the solutions within yourself. So we won't be giving advice.
Others may not be so confident or ready or sure about what to share.
Anybody else? I think, Emma, you haven't been.
I've got something, but if there is time, there is something that I could talk about.
But usually something will emerge that is useful to explore. Next is the progress updates. This is when we hear from the issue bringers from the previous Action Learning Set session and about the actions they took and the progress they feel they have made. This is an important way of reinforcing the change that the process can inspire in Action Learning Set members.
Share with us a little bit about what happened in the interim. Julie?
Yeah, sure. So I really found the last session very insightful, and just as a refresh, I've got a really generally very high performing, capable member of staff working on quite a challenging project. I just noticed that she was becoming increasingly disconnected, was sort of missing deadlines, not communicating particularly well, and I was feeling quite concerned, but just not feeling that I could get through to her. And as a result of the session, I agreed that I would really have a kind of quite an open conversation with her and ask her how she thought things were. It turned out that she had quite a few things going on at home that she hadn't shared with me, and that she was also feeling the level of sort of ambiguity around the project, and she just needed a bit more support to help kind of structure things and then get on with it, because she's the kind of person who's really, really capable.
That sounds wonderful, and thanks for that feedback. That's just great, and to feel that you've made so much progress. Maggie.
Thanks, Sarah. And I just want to thank everybody from the last session, because even though it was quite a short session time-wise, it's really helped me to move things quite quickly. So it just really helped kind of just galvanise where I was. The issue I brought was around trying to influence some colleagues around incorporating the personalised care agenda into a leadership programme that I was developing. And you may recall that my colleagues were a little bit reluctant, and there was a bit of pushback. The actions that I took really have been really helpful, and they've sort of unlocked things. And what I've noticed is my part in this, and that's the bit I wasn't seeing, and that the action learning set helped me to see about, I was just landing my agenda on them. And so the actions I took was to sort of share my narrative a bit more, but also to incorporate them into sort of my story and why it was important to me. And I think once they understood that, and I was able to articulate that, we've really moved on now. So, and they've become really quite passionate and are joining the masterclasses now and have sort of get it now. So I've really learned about the power of taking some time out to think. So I just want to thank everybody. It's really helped me to move things along.
Next, we move on to issue bringing. This is when the issue bringers share a work challenge or difficulty and are supported to make this issue into a question to resolve for themselves.
So the thing that I've been mulling over is, we are working remotely. We have geographically dispersed teams. As it is, it's tough to, bring them closer because everybody's working in a different location. But with being virtually, it's become more tougher because we no longer have the opportunities to come together, have those, regular face-to-face, which we tended to have. How can we communicate and connect people more effectively? As a manager, how I could perhaps bring my team together. I was thinking, what is it I could do? What are some tangible actions that could be taken to bring the team closer?
So you're feeling the goal that you want to explore within this action learning set is how can you bring your team together?
Set members will then ask clarification questions so they understand more of the context of the challenge or difficulty.
Can you say a little bit more about how, just to get clear, how this is impacting on your team currently?
Yeah, so I think because we had those what we call as water cooler conversations or corridor conversations, they're no longer happening, and everybody is busy doing their own doing and having back-to-back meetings. So some of us have self-admittedly feeling that we are very tired. There's no turning around to speak to the next person now. You have to book in a time to speak. Because of the distance, the physical distance, and we used to come together, I think I have a feeling that there's an impact. And if I can say about myself, there's impact on my mental health as well, because I do thrive with connecting with people and being around with people.
That was really clear. Thanks. I've just got some questions around who is in your team, how long have they all been together, and do you meet, have you got sort of formal things in place already?
I would say we are an ever-changing team. When I joined in, we were barely 8. Now we got 12 people. So some of them are new, some of them have been in the team for years. So it's quite a mix, I would say. I come somewhere in the middle. So means I can still empathize from a new joiner point of view.
So can you formulate that into a question? What's your question that you'd like to explore?
How to regularly connect with teams who are working remotely.
Next, the facilitator invites the set members to ask open, insightful questions so the issue bringer can consider the current situation and options moving forwards.
Okay, so I have one. You mentioned the camera on and off. Why do you think the camera on and when the camera's off, it affects people connecting hugely, from your point of view?
I think it's just that I feel I'm quite a visual person, and that visual matters to me a lot, and that visual check-in means to me a lot. And I sometimes think, and I may be wrong, and there's no compulsion for anyone to switch on the camera, as I said earlier, but people may be shielding themselves or getting into their shell if they are reluctant to switch on the camera. So it's just that once in a while, it would be good to be present and be around, and we could see each other, and we could check on each other, because the little cues, visual cues, do give us a lot. The body language. It's useful if you can have the camera on.
And how do you feel you could communicate that concern on behalf of the team to the rest of the team?
Yeah, that's a good one. How could I do that? Yeah, because I don't want to come across as one who's imposing on others. I don't want to demand anything or expect anything. For me, I think the intuitive feeling I have is I'm concerned. That's why I'm asking. Not that I have any trust issues or any other issues around it, or I'm not, thinking that people are not present there. It's more about just few minutes of check-in would be enough, and I'm concerned. So I think coming from a place of concern may help to establish it.
I wanted to ask you if you were seeing specific repetitive behavior that concerned you in individuals in your team.
Some of that, but I can't really put my finger in it, Emma. That's why perhaps my feeling of concern is coming. So someone sounding not themselves when I've spoken to them. I do know that there is a lot happening in the background for them with home situation and children being around.
Alavi, thank you. I think you might have answered this. I was just thinking, are there other ways that you could communicate other than using this kind of virtual world that suits some of us really well and really doesn't work for others?
I think having a sort of a email update and things around where things are, so that people still feel connected and have a view of the bigger picture, has been helpful. So that has been helpful. So a sort of a weekly update on what has happened in the past week and what's the plan for the next week.
And is there any other ways of communicating that might work?
One more thing that seems to have, again, mixed results is not having the Zoom or the Teams call, but taking a walk whilst we talk over the phone, so with our headphones on, and walk the talk. That seems to, some of them are quite enthusiastic, whilst I think some of the other colleagues are a little struggling with that because of the weather, I would say, rather than anything else.
I have another question. How could you utilise, having mentioned other team members, the skills of the team to make virtual connection look perfect?
It's a nice question.
Cheeky one, I would say,
Cheeky.
but an actual learning set with the team itself, and they come up with the solutions themselves, I would say that may work, because I'm finding this entirely useful, and how perhaps I could transfer this experience over to the team, and the team take ownerships and come up with those solutions rather than me suggesting it all. If I use this approach, then we as a team may find and come together, the more brains, and come together and find a better solution.
That was a great question, Andy, because part of us being together in action learning is getting more comfortable with open questioning and how useful a device that can be.
Pallavi, you say you have concerns. Do you sense that other members of your team, and this slightly follows on from the previous question, do you sense that other members of the team are also concerned about the connection within the team and the visibility?
I would say yes, but we never had a chance to perhaps explore this fully. So it would come in some instances when I believe it's more implicit, I would say, than explicit concern that has been mentioned. Maybe because now I'm thinking through, we never had an opportunity to explore it fully. And I would say, yeah, the concern is there, and it's more about when I've read between the lines rather than someone saying that I'm feeling that. And if I reflect on it personally, I would be slightly hesitant to raise it openly. And I think we need to have a much more safer space to be able to raise it openly.
So say more, Pallavi, about this safe space. What might that look like?
Safe space would be where you can share how you feel without any concerns of any action that would impact on your role or career. Safe space would be where, the Chatham House rules apply. What gets, what discussed stays within the room. A dedicated time where we're focused on a particular thing rather than crowding it with multiple issues. So we got enough time to explore something in depth. Safe space for me also means that we do come up with some clear actions that would yield results, not just have a chat and then forget about it. So having some ground rules, as we did for this session, I think similar sort of things may apply to that safe space, I would say.
That's great. That sounds great. So I think if there are no more questions, you've come through with a lot of your own thinking around safe space. What actions are you going to take now? Have you got some actions to work upon when we finish with our time together here?
I think first of all, reflecting on what Emma said is finding out how others feel about it. At the next team meeting, I have it as any other business and check in with them about this and see if that's a mutual concern and do we want to explore it further and perhaps plant the seed about a further discussion on this subject, in-depth discussion, and discuss the topic of safe space and volunteer to organize it. I think these are some of the actions that come to my mind.
That sounds like a great set of actions and very, very clear that have come from within you. So how committed are you to carrying these, moving forward on these actions?
Since I came with I feel strongly about this issue. So for me, I'm fully committed, and some of the things that I think the set members have perhaps steered me towards thinking has been extremely helpful. Those questions, the open questions and clarification questions has, I think, strengthened my commitment, I would say, more or less, because I have a clearer action plan now. So I'm fully committed.
After the issue bringer has established the actions that they are going to take, everyone in the space will share their affirmations for that person and the learning that they have also taken away.
So now's the time for people to affirm and share with you their feelings about what's happened here and the work that you've done in finding your own solutions. So I'm going to hand over to people within the set.
Pallavi, I just want to appreciate your passion for this, and I really have noticed how it's really important to you, that connection and that sense of team, and I just really wanted to just notice that and appreciate it to you. It matters. I can really hear that.
Thanks, Maggie. I think if I feel it's coming across to you all, then I feel that I'll be able to instill that passion across to the team as well. So really appreciate your comment.
What strikes me strongly right now, Pallavi, is that you have such a clear, strong mind of your own, and that was very clear in the way you processed at the end in your action piece. And at the same time, you were so able to receive and listen to our questions and our input and be supported by us. And I was just struck by that wonderful balance that you have, that you demonstrated through this set.
Oh, thank you, Emma. Really like your comment. I think it just instills more confidence in me that if, with your help, I've been able to come up with a clear action plan and a workable action plan, I'll achieve something good out of it. So really appreciate your comment. Thanks for that.
I want to echo the comments of the other set members, which I thought were absolutely bang on. What I found fantastic about that is that we're all feeling the same, and your passion certainly did come across. And what it actually does as well, even though we're thinking about your situation, it helps us with our situation as well, and maybe to get our own thoughts around it. I love the fact that you picked up upon the fact that because I've had a similar issue around trying to understand that different team members approach things in different ways, and I'm a very face-to-face person myself, and it doesn't work for everybody maybe, but maybe it does, and it's good to check in. But I would love to see the reflections and the impact that you'll definitely have, and I would love to work with and for somebody like yourself. So because you've got that passion, so I wish you the best of luck with it.
After a break, the new issue bringer will spend allocated time going through their challenge or difficulty in the same way. The group will reflect on how the time spent together has worked for people, and what learning might be taken into refreshing the ground rules at the next Action Learning Set meeting. The facilitator will encourage people in the set to use their handbook and reflect their individual learning takeaways from the session.